Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special premiere episode of the Saturday Morning RPG Show. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucian, over at Sir Lucian Gaming. We are back-ish, I guess. We're trying out a Friday night stream. I have good news, is that all of my home construction officially finished today. They drilled the last hole, they said goodbye, and I'm going to get a big bill in the mail, and that'll be fun. Yeah, but it means that my game room's back. So we got the carpets cleaned. I cleaned them super good because I had a lot of drywall dust everywhere, and you can't see, but it's still like a mess over there. But I'm gonna reorganize my shelves and my books and get things back in order. But I'm just excited to have my space back.
So now we know what you're going to do on your Saturday is you're going to clean your room is what I
No, yeah, last what was it, was 4th of July weekend. I just cleaned. I took mostly everything off of the shelves and individually dusted it and cleaned it and then set it aside, and I had to do that with books and anything that I had on the shelf. And then after that, then I could okay, I think I want this shelf here and I want this shelf here and stuff. So once I get it more pretty, I've been taking incremental photos and videos. So I'm going to make a video for the channel to be where have I been for the past 3 months? And it was funny. They quoted us 6 to 8 weeks, and it ended up taking, I think, 13 weeks to get it finished. So this
is the plot of The Money Pit, as far as I know, if you ever watched that movie.
it was a rough 3 months, but or four months.
Now,
no, 3 months.
Luxury.
But
golden
now
toilets.
Man, I've got indoor plumbing. Wow, so cool. An oven, I can cook food. But yeah, so it's been good overall. This will be nice to get back to normal and to be making YouTube videos and stuff like that.
You weren't playing any games at the house, right?
Yeah, we were. I was trying to
hosting any table games.
Yeah, I was trying to be out of the house as much as possible. So that's why I actually started going to my local game store, and I met some really great people there. And they've been doing these Friday night quick shots. So every other Friday, this guy just organizes it out of the goodness of his heart. I'm like, you're awesome. And he's actually the same guy that's helping me organize DCC Day at the game store. And so I like my other game store, the one that's closer, but this one's a little farther away. But the store itself hasn't been very outgoing in trying to but that guy, amazing. And he's just I just love games. I'm like, that's great. And it's pretty consistently busy, they have overflow tables and emergency DMs in case something gets too big. And it's okay. So
yeah, it's interesting how when you do have that really enthusiastic person who's really willing just to dive in and do a bunch of stuff, whether he or she knows people will come or not.
Yeah.
But then groups and people can kind of feed off that energy, that enthusiasm, and it can just build its own little community and spot, because there's that one driving force that says, I'm going to make something here that's a nice little shiny star, and all these little people are like, hey, look at that little shiny thing, let me go over there and see what's going on.
Well, and it's and a lot of them are just game masters and dungeon masters, and I pitched hey, I like DCC, and they're like, we've never played it, and I was like, cool, well, I'll run something. And that didn't work out because I was busy. And things fell through, but I was talking about DCC Day, and they were like, oh, well, we should do that. And all of a sudden he's like, well, I just ordered a whole bunch of DCC Day stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, and I convinced the store to go in on it. So they bought a bunch of stuff, and we're just gonna do that. So these other two guys have never ran Dungeon Crawl Classics before, but they're like, we're gonna run funnels for the first time, and they're familiar enough with RPGs that they'll be like, I think it's fine, I know what a saving throw is, kind of a thing. So we had a meeting yesterday and just kind of went over what we're gonna do it's next Saturday, the 22nd. And so we're gonna have a guy in the morning, and then I'm coming in the afternoon to watch the afternoon shift and run games and do things. But this is the kind of, I don't know, activity you want, because you especially with RPGs, you love games, and you're I want to find cool players, I want people to play games, and this was the perfect perfect place to do it, you know? And that guy,
very cool.
God bless him, he's organizing a whole bunch of stuff and he's not getting paid a dime from what I know. So I'm like, thank you.
I feel like I want to call them and just say, when Jordan's in the store, if anybody says DCC, everybody has to shout out, "Now take a drink."
Yeah. Usually somebody's like, "Yeah, I heard about this game called DCC," and I just like pop up from around a corner.
Yeah.
Hi. And they're like, "Do you work here?" "Oh no, not at all." But
you summoned me.
Let me tell you about our Lord and Savior Dungeon Crawl Classic.
Here's your Kool-Aid.
So yeah, so
that's cool.
Well, DCC Day's coming up, July 22nd. We got the adventure here, and it's called Crash of the Titans. And this is actually a Mutant Crawl Classics adventure, but it's DCC Day or whatever. And it's level 3, and I'm really excited. So the other fun thing about this, though, is it comes with a map that's kind of a point crawl, and then you have these cutouts on this side right here of the actual monsters. And there are 2 giants, titans, that are wandering around the map. And so while the adventure's going, they could like wander over you and cause problems. And so I don't know, it's like one of those fun replayability ones where you're like, this is going to be different every single time based on just the positioning of these giants. And so I thought that was a really cool module. I was like, that's really awesome.
That's very cool. Yeah, because I don't think we didn't have the show for a free RPG day, did we? Or did we do the show and then went to the store?
Yeah, so we did the show, and then
happened.
I left to go to free RPG day, but it was also my friend's birthday, and we were doing that level 21 shot. And so then I did that, and then I went to free RPG day. So that was the last time we met, yeah. And I picked up Broken Compass. Have you heard of this RPG? It's like Indiana Jones. You can do it in the 1920s, and it's totally like pulp. I'm gonna go explore and get an idol from an ancient thing, and I don't know. It's really cool. It's a D6 system. It's super fun.
I would buy an Indiana hat to make that. Yeah, so I'd be able to sit there in my Indiana hat.
And like the aesthetic of it, this is called the Adventurer's Journal, and they just make it look like, I don't know, just like really it feels like a leather journal that you're gonna like haul around. And I think that's why I was confused, because when I saw it on the shelf, I thought it was a journal for your RPG character, because I know Beetle and Grimm sell like Dungeon Master journals, which is like, here's NPCs, and you can, little places for that. And I was like, well, that's really expensive for a journal. Like, what is that? So then I started flipping through it, and I was like, oh, and the company that makes Broken Compass has a whole line of adventures too. So it's like, oh, and then I want to have like a paranormal kind of Cthulhu adventure. Oh, I can pick up that one. Or I want like an Indiana Jones fighting Nazi adventure. Like, who doesn't want to punch a Nazi? Let's go. Okay. So, and I don't know. It's just really cool. So I've been enjoying that a lot, reading that and wanting to run it. But I got to focus on DCC Day first.
And they have the movies coming out. So it's kind of like a good time to learn that.
Movie's out.
Oh, it is.
I heard it's like not the best, or maybe it's okay. I don't know. Indiana Jones is one of those characters that I wanted to be like James Bond, where we just get different actors that play him, and he kind of never ages. It's just like always a fun adventure set now, and and you have different actors play him, because then we could argue about who's the best Indiana Jones, and I think that would be a lot of fun to have more fun pulp adventures.
And even now that you say that, there's not really many movie franchises that do that, where they change the leading guy, but it is the same character.
Yep. Doctor Who is the only thing I can really think about that do it. And then for some reason, we're okay about it with James Bond for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, and I know people are like, well, this actor will always be James Bond to me. And I'm like, and that's great, because, but like, I don't know why we don't do that with more, rather than rebooting and trying to like bring back the old characters. And I'm like, if we love Indiana Jones, especially, is like, we love this character, just go ahead and do that, and it was kind of like now we're just talking about movies. Welcome to our movie podcast. But
Friday
Pirates
night,
of the Caribbean was a similar thing where I was like, no, people have really latched on to this Captain Jack Sparrow character. You just need another Pirates in the Caribbean movie with him. You don't necessarily need to bring back Orlando Bloom and all these. I mean, like, we weren't super attached to them. Like, we just thought he was funny and wanted him to go on another supernatural sea adventure. And they got it right towards the end, I think, when they were just keeping Jack Sparrow in the movies and like doing stuff. But that's another one where I'm like, they'll never recast it. But like, what if they did? Like, that would be fun, you know?
So. Well, you never know. I just saw a preview, and we're talking movies. I saw something, they're doing a Willy Wonka movie again. So
yeah, it's a preview.
You never know when they're going to redo something. So yeah, everything comes back around at some point. So Hugh
Grant of Dungeons and Dragons fame is a Oompa Loompa in the new Wonka movie. It looks ridiculously not fun for me, but that's okay. Hey,
so I got this little treasure at that DD, and it's a pad. Is this how it is? The one you have, it's like
no, mine's a book.
Like a little notepad.
Yeah,
this is like a little notepad to say, hey, do you want to learn how to play a game pretty quick? And it's got the character sheets on it, and you fold them.
They have the coolest character sheets. Yeah,
and I'm just like,
yeah, we played that at Gen Con.
Prep.
That was the maze one. Yeah,
that's so good.
That's a unique
I also
game.
got. So this was the
G.I. Joe
and Transformers. Remember, Renegade Games they got the license to G.I. Joe, Transformers, Power Rangers, and something else. Well, this is the guide to help you fuse those two games together so that your
because it's the same system.
Transformer can fight your G.I. Joe. So I was like, oh, I got to pick that up. That was free.
And I think in the movies they want to combine that too. So
I hope they do. Then I got Zombie Side.
Oh, cool.
RPG 2-day mission booklet. And it was cool enough and the artwork was good enough that I said, you know what? Support your local game store. I bought Zombie Side while I was there. So I got free stuff. I bought a book and I thought, this looks cool. I love zombies. Zombies is my favorite genre. I can't wait till the zombie apocalypse happens. But those were the ones I got.
Heck yeah. No. So we went there and we're big fans of Scott Pilgrim, the movie. I read the comics before the movie came out. Like, I really love it. And we have a Scott Pilgrim trading card game. My game store, I went in for free RPG day, but they were having a sidewalk sale of all of these like really expensive stuff that they couldn't really get rid of. There was like 7 Spelljammer box sets. I felt so bad. I was like, oh yeah, people aren't buying those, are they? And it's the special edition. Oh, that's rough. I'm not going to get it, but that's okay. I was like, I already have it. But they had a Scott Pilgrim game that's normally $200. It's got these Scott Pilgrim miniatures, and it's like a fighting game and a tactical miniature battle league game with Scott Pilgrim characters.
That's cool.
But it was 75% off, so I got it for $50. And I was like, yep. And I picked up the box and I was walking out, and then the lady's like, oh, did you get the second box? I'm like, no, I just want this one. And she's like, no, the game is in 2 boxes. So now I'm carrying around these 2 boxes. I was like, this is the best deal ever.
For a great deal, yeah.
So then I got that. And of course, because I spent like over $100 for free RPG day, they were like, oh, you can have some other free stuff. So I got something else that is lost because everything's in boxes. But yeah. But it was fun. I had a good time.
It was nice that on that day, they had a sign on my comic book game store that said, hey, we're moving over the holiday weekend. So it was like that was happening. And then 4th of July happened. They shut it down. They bought a new store that has more footage across the street in a building.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And then I just went this last weekend to the brand new store with all the new stuff in there. It looks like it's going to be cool because they're setting up a lot more play area stuff too. So I think it's going to be cool that they're going to start having a lot more events is what I'm hoping. A lot more people doing stuff like what you're talking about. So I'm hoping that my new comic book games, not new, but new location comic book game store is going to be doing that stuff too.
It's still, I mean, I don't actively play. I mean, I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering Arena, I guess, lately. But like, Magic still is the reason those places exist, and it blows me away because we go for Friday night quick shots, and it's like I'm always walking through, and I'm like, is there a party going on? And it's just like hundreds of people in the front playing Magic, exchanging Magic cards, doing some kind of a Magic something or other. And I'm like, yeah, wow, this is okay. And then I go back in the corner and there's like 12 of us waiting to play an RPG. And it's like, okay. But
very cool.
Hey, I made a thing called Mechagoons and I released it. How cool is that?
Yeah, cool.
I'll put links down below, but if you just go to the jorphdan.itch.io, jorphdan.itch.io, you'll find it there. And it is free. You can donate. I have like a $5 suggested donation because I'm like, I don't know, I think it's worth $5. But if you put 0 in there, you can get the game for free. The whole thing's in Creative Commons. I just kind of was like, this is an experiment to try publishing on itch and things like that. But friend of the show, Lex, gave me a warm review. He was like, this is awesome. I was like, oh, thank you. So it's kind of fun. And then I have some people that we're going to run through a couple of scenarios. And then I've already got ideas for kind of expanding it and stuff. Lex had a really good idea of turning it into like a pseudo miniature game. Like, instead of Theater of the Mind, actually like and then the monsters could be D12s. And as they take damage, you rotate the number so that you know, like, oh, that guy's like super hurt because he's a 4 on the die. And I was like, that's brilliant. So we might be writing some stuff there. Should be
some
fun.
supplemental
something. I don't know. I probably got to write a couple adventures and be like, here, play. Yeah. But that was really fun. So it's super cool. Go check out Mechagoons. Let me know what you think. There's actually
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there's a link in the document, in the PDF for Mechagoons, that takes you to a Google form where you can like leave me feedback. And then I'll always have it, and it'll be in the in my Excel on Google Sheets, and I can go check it and be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And you don't have to, but you can, and I think that's awesome. So I thought it'd be a good way to leave feedback if you were interested in doing so.
Yeah. How did you land with what you want to do with your art?
It is mostly AI stuff. Yeah. So I generated some things on Midjourney, and then I photoshopped a bunch of other stuff, and then I used some public domain images and I photoshopped those as well. And when I say Photoshop, like I bought a Waco drawing pad for my computer. So it was a lot of like tracing and fixing the images and stuff. But yeah, that's a hot subject. Not a lot of people are like gung ho for the AI art. But again, I was like, but it's making it free. And then the more I looked at it, I was like, if I don't have the art, I just feel like it doesn't feel like a real project, you know? So, I included it.
There has to be some inspiration. Yeah.
So I included it.
Have you talked to Lex about it? I wonder what Lex's point of view is on that whole. Because he builds and makes lots of cool RPGs. I know he gets artwork from different places.
He pays his art. He
does. Yeah. So get it.
5B that came out, that was entirely public domain images. And he was very upfront about that. He's like, I did this public domain images because I want it to be as cheap as possible. I want it to do this. And so, but he was like, and they're all listed there. Like, he's like, this is where I got the image and stuff. But it worked. It worked really well for 5B. He's actually working on a supplement right now. I don't think this is like super secret knowledge or anything, but I know that he hired an artist for that specifically. And I think if he actually gave me a bunch of names of artists that he was like, because he scours like Twitter and
I'm on Twitter all the time, like that guy I like, this person I like, that person I like. I'm gonna keep
and
that.
he found a really good one that like fits the style I'm kind of going for, and I was like, okay, but I just don't have the money for it right now. So that was another thing. I was like, if people buy it, if it kind of takes off, and then I don't think it will take off because it's just a hack of Tunnel Goons, and how many people just kind of want to play Tunnel Goons instead. But I like the idea of it. And it was an exercise in writing for me. And I've been up front with that too. Like, I'm like, I think games are cool. I want to design games as well, you know? And so this is like, but it's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not hey, I'm going to screw the artist and I'm going to do all this other stuff. Like I totally want to support the visual artists, because I think that those people can capture the overall aesthetic for the whole book so much better than me trying to like, you know, bash little images together and make it work. But I just don't have the time and money right now, so maybe eventually. But it's a hot thing on itch. A lot of people don't like that you use AI art, and I understand.
Camps have been drawn for sure. There's a line out
and
there, and people are picking sides.
I decided to be upfront with it, so there's like a disclaimer that it's like, hey, this is what I did with the art, but and I don't know, I haven't gotten any negative feedback yet. Like, there's probably people who are rolling their eyes and are like, okay, I'm gonna block this guy or not listen to him or something. But for the most part, you know, people are enjoying the game. That's part of it. So
crazy.
Screen Actors Guild is on strike. This just happened today or yesterday. I think it was yesterday. So we have the writer's strike. And the reason I bring up the Screen Actors Guild strike, which means all of our celebrities can't make movies or TV shows and things like that until the strike is resolved. This is kind of a big deal. Actually, it's a very big deal in the entertainment world. But I was wondering what is going to happen for Critical Role, because they are all SAG-AFTRA actors. And I don't know if podcasting or streaming on Twitch count as stuff like that. So it was something to think about. I'm not really sure how it's going to work out. Because with the strike, you can't do stage performances either. So it's this weird, where does tabletop RPG content kind of fit in for you, you know? Like, I would look at that and be like, that's a total staged thing. But I wonder if, like, on paper, legally, they're like, oh, no, you can do that. And you're not violating the guild because you're not creating revenue for somebody else, but they are their company. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if their parent company, the Critical Role that they've created, I wonder if that company actually pays the SAG-AFTRA stuff and then that money comes back to them as like working talent, or if it's just you're our CEO, we pay you kind of a thing.
Right.
So, and then it's not through that and they can keep going. But it'll be interesting to see. This is part of what the SAG Actors Guild is on strike for, or I shouldn't say SAG Actors Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, SAG. This is why SAG is on strike, is because of streaming problems and not getting compensation for things that are streamed. Or a lot of the big thing now is companies are making these big budget shows like HBO and stuff, and then they don't release them and they write it off for taxes. Well, if it's not released, then the actor doesn't get any of the money. You know, like, there's a lot of this weird stuff back and forth.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. And I just want to bring it up because Critical Role is huge, and it makes me wonder if, like, I don't know, or even Dimension 20. A lot of those guys are SAG actors as well. So
very interesting.
Yeah. Wizards of the Coast news, though. Bigby's Guide to Giants is coming out. That is the next book. And I was trying to think about Fizzbands, and I don't think that was a majority monster book, but maybe it was, now that I think about it. Like, here's a little bit of lore on dragons. Here's some subclasses that you can use. And then here's a whole bunch of draconic monsters. And it was that. And I don't know why my brain is making it out to be more of a lore subclass book. It was not a Xanathar's. It was nothing like that. So I was a little taken back when I found out that the Bigby's Guide to Giants is actually like 70% of the book is just monsters. And I was like, do I really need more monsters? Do I really need more giants? I don't know. Especially with, I mean, there's so many monster books, and Colville's monster book's going to come out soon. And Tome of Beasts, I have all of those. Genre. Like, I don't know. Well, and it's easy. Oh, and no, it's the Dungeon Denizens by Goodman Games. Like, I'm going to get that one. And I think I will be overloaded on monsters, but who knows? I don't know. Monsters are also a great source of inspiration when you're like, wow, what do I want my players to do tonight? And you flip through the book and you're like, yeah, I was looking for that random, I don't know, snot ooze like came out of the giant's nose. You always want to
give your players something they haven't seen yet, or they might not know, and you have that fun of being able to describe it and see what they do. you know,
Yeah,
because
but man, I mean,
what is
even
this thing?
even the monster manual is just like has so many monsters in it.
Mhm.
I was thinking the other day that what I really want next is a book of, and this should be my secret. Okay, nobody make this because
Nobody
I
do
want to
this.
make this. I want to make this is TM copyright #TM TM.
Yep.
Um, I want a book of villains. Like I want here's a villain. Here's like his vices. Like he's going to be seduced by money no matter what kind of a thing. And then make that a template or something that I can put onto an existing monster. So it's like I have my villain, and then it's like, oh, he's a vampire, and all of a sudden I take a vampire over here and I kind of mash the two, and I've got this really cool villain that will last for maybe 3 or 4 sessions, kind of a thing. Has motivations, has a reason that he's doing stuff, wants to antagonize the party because of X, Y, and Z. So, and I know that 3rd edition, or maybe it was 2nd edition, had a book called Book of Villains back in the day. And that's where I got like some of my Vecna lore and things like that out of it. So I'm like, that's kind of what I want to really help me build a campaign.
I was thinking Colville has a little bit of that, I think, in the book, because he was talking about like putting villains in sub bosses and like things in his book. So that was kind of where I was thinking as you were talking about that. I was thinking, oh yeah, I think
the one that's not out yet. Yeah. I should, because I know he's got. Well, I need to read the Venture Maidens book, because Celeste was talking in her Venture Maidens book that they have some templates to put over existing monsters. So it's like, instead of giving you a whole new monster, it's like, here are 5 ways to make trolls different, and then you can like apply this to trolls or something. And we already see that, like, you buy a new book and you're like, well, the giant book is a perfect example where it's like, here's a mind flare giant, here's a this giant, here's a mimic giant. And instead it's like, could we just take a giant and then here are 5 different ways to alter that giant to make it new and interesting in a way. Right. But you don't see that a lot. And I mean, art sells. And so you want to have like, what does a mimic giant look like? That's kind of cool. Mimic giant. Sure. Like, I like that idea.
Giant ooze.
A giant ooze. That was my pitch for the Dungeon Denizens. Was I wanted an ooze creature that was also like ooze/giant, and it was because it was like a ball of snot that came out of a giant's nose, and so it was just this really sticky snot. And sadly, he came back and he was like, I have a lot of, sentient, of course. But he's like, he came back and he's like, I have a lot of oozes. I don't really need any more. And so that's when I'm like, Corgi Fae, Unicorg, boom, grants you wishes. And he was like, that's awesome. So, so there we go.
The corgi, but it's not really a monster. That's just like a cool pet, right? That wants to fight the corgi unicorn.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for when those rules actually come out, because I wrote it that the corgi, the unicorn corgi, Fey corgi, he has all of these ways to escape. And so the idea is that if you capture him, he'll grant you a wish. But when you like try to grab him, he can reaction teleport away, or, all these things. So I think it would be a fun challenge of like, guys, we can solve our problems if we can catch one of these Fey corgis, but they're really hard to catch. And how do we, and so it's not so much like attacking it. It doesn't have a lot of hit points or something, but it does have a lot of ways to get out of danger and to escape. And so,
very cool.
Anyway. And then last but not least, Humble Bundle came out with
Say that 3 times quick.
Yeah. Ooh. Red leather, yellow leather. Has a classic sword and sorcery RPG, Humble Bundle. And it was kind of on the expensive side. It was like $65, which is not expensive for 55 items. But it's because it has this physical copy of a book in it. But the 54 item, which is everything but the physical copy of the book, is $25, which is really awesome. But it is the sword and sorcery D20 system that I was a little unfamiliar with, but it's a lot of cool stuff. Like lots of third-party things. There's some pulp. Like there's a werewolf, there's like a weird tales, there's the Tomb of Horrors for Sword and Sorcery, and yeah, so lots of quite a variety of books, I think, if you wanted to pick this up. Yeah, I'll anyway, we just had a little technical blip, but we're back.
Yeah,
we're
just
back.
The blip. I've been watching the Disney
Secret Invasion.
When you said the blip, I thought the blip.
Yeah, a lot of people are going back and forth with that show. I'm liking it. And it's one of those things that I was watching it and then it got me thinking about changelings from Eberron. And it's really a similar thing. Like how cool would that be to be like, and the changelings are very similar. Like they get in and they kind of like live their lives here. But they're persecuted if they're in their original form. And like, yeah, watching Secret Invasion, it's straight up just a cool campaign that you could have.
Yeah, for sure.
Like 100%. And then DS9 like with all of the changelings in that show and things like that. I've been watching
that good.
Been watching a lot of Star Trek lately too. It's a lot of fun. So
New Horizons.
Oh, have I
or is it New Horizons or it's Strange New World?
Strange New Worlds, yeah. Season 2 of that is now going, and it's very good. It's very fun.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff.
So I see you talking about Pangea. Did you see? I posted. I got a book.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't even expecting.
My book came in the mail too.
That I got
yeah.
I was like, what?
It's been forever, and good for them. They really quality checked the book. I'm happy that it got here, and we had the PDFs a while ago, but like there's just something about a new RPG book and sitting down, and I'm very excited for that. Like I've been on a kind of a slump with 5e, little bored with it here and there. I think that's anything when you run a game for so long. But reading through that, I want to run a like primitive Pangea game so bad.
Yeah, this is really good. And the really good, very evocative, and
really good.
I'm excited.
Like everything is in that book. The setting plus here's a bunch of hooks. Here's how to reevaluate your brain when you're playing it. They're like, oh, this is like instead of going to the tavern, you have like the clan fire, and like this is where people gather at night for safety. And like I was like, this is so great. And they swap stories and how do wizards work. And anyway, it's that guy put so much effort into it. It's just amazing. So,
yeah, I was super. I had the weirdest day because like you never get 2 Kickstarters to show up at your house on the exact same day, and that's what happened.
Rarely.
When I came in, I'm like, I saw a package of like one was on the porch and one was in a box that we set outside so people can set stuff in case it's raining or something.
Yeah.
So one was in there, one's on the porch. I'm like, 2 packages addressed to me, that can't be right, because all packages we get are from my wife and her massive Amazon spree that she does, and we get 5 packages a day because Amazon. So I was like, how could there be things for me? And then so not only did that one come in, and I was super excited because I know me and you both love Pangea.
Well, when he came on, is it David? When he came on to talk about it, like I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, come talk to us about your book. And the more he talked about it, I'm like, this is big. And I think it's Atlas Games that made that. And he was even saying in our interview, you should go back and listen to that episode. But in the interview, when we were talking to him, he was saying, yeah, I pitched it to Atlas Games. And they were like, okay. And he's like, and then the more I talked about it, Atlas Games was like, oh, this is a little cooler than we anticipated, kind of a thing. So they put more money into it and getting it done. So, yeah.
So number 2 showed up with the old little duck coming down.
Darkwing Duck jumping down.
Dragon Bay.
That was another free RPG. I got the quick start rules for that.
Yeah.
Have you
role playing?
Yeah. Have you read it? Flipped through it?
No, I just took the cellophane off it. Now it's a game that was super popular in over in Europe, and I think it was. I'm trying to remember the country.
It's in Norway or Sweden or something. It was like the number one game there. Oh, maybe it was Germany. I don't remember.
No, I thought it was one of the higher ones. Like you were, I think you were closer.
Norway.
And it was one that was super popular. It's had a couple of editions come out, and then they launched a Kickstarter last year to say, hey, we're going to update it. Free League's going to help us with it. It's a whole full box set. we want to bring it back to, to its glory. I think they brought it, the couple of versions after this, they did a bunch of rule changes, but then this brought it a little bit closer to original, but not quite the same as the way
but
they
probably
explained
like
it.
quality of life improvements that, still
and Free League make always backs awesome ideas. I just love all the games on their website. Like I go there, I'm like, I want to buy that, and I want to buy that, and I want to buy that.
Yeah.
So those are two things. I was like so excited to go through these books. That's what I'm gonna do tonight when I'm just hanging out, watching my TV, because I got rained out for my thing tomorrow, and I'm gonna be reading my RPG book.
Yeah, I would love to know. Maybe next show we can have like an in-depth Dragonbane, because like the art is so cool, and I usually don't like when you can play anthropomorphic animals. Like I'm a cat person, or I'm this. Like for some reason that's never been something.
Like the Pugmire.
Yeah, and no offense to the people who like that, but it's never been a draw to me. But like, there's something about that duck that's like on the back cover swooping down with knives, and I'm like, okay. I want to play a duck. That seems really cool.
You kind of get like an Elric figure here with the white elf glowing blade, and I thought, okay, that makes sense. But when I saw this artwork and they talked about Mirth and Mayhem role playing, and I saw that artwork, I was like, that's when I kickstarted it. I saw that, and I was like, you've got me. I'm hitting the button right now, because I want to know about if I can play him or her or them or whatever. That's gonna be awesome.
No, and I think in the quick start rules, that's one of the races and stuff. So anyway, it looks really cool. Super excited. Yeah, so I've been reading Pangea as well. Now that I have the physical book, I guess I could have been reading it earlier, but gosh, it's so good.
Can you just imagine playing that campaign? Oh my god, Pangea would be so good.
Well, and I went to a concert last Friday, and not a lot of people showed up, so we ended up calling some friends of ours. We're like, come to this concert and just like hang out with us. It's like there's nobody here, it'll be fun.
Nobody here.
Like, oh. And so we like watched the band, and then the band left, and then we were just having some drinks, and I started talking, and they're the ones that play my DCC game with me.
Yeah.
And so we haven't played DCC in forever because of the house, and they were in shows and stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, we should get back to that. And they're like, I think I know where we're at, and like da-da-da. And I was like, but I just got this thing called Pangea. And then I just spilled all of the Pangea stuff, and they were like, that sounds really cool. And so I was like, you guys, and this is the problem we have, right? Where the excitement you have for the pre-game is almost more exciting than like finishing the game that you are playing right now. And I was like, no, Purple Planet, I still kind of want to finish it. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. We've put a lot of time into it. You guys are like level 5 now. We're doing higher level DCC stuff. Usually I only go to, level 1 or 2. And so this is kind of neat. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, but now I'm all amped up for Pangea. And then, reading through Broken Compass and stuff, it's like,
it's always the new hotness, right? It's always the meme of the dude checking out the girl he passed by with his girlfriend. It's always like
distracted boyfriend. Yeah, he's like, oh, hey.
Distracted boyfriend. Yeah. the new thing that walks by, and you're just like, hey, what's going on?
That's funny.
That's how terrible we are.
Yeah, we should talk about the Ennies. They are out. I'll put a link in our notes. I perused it. But I didn't. I haven't voted on anything. And the only reason I know it is because Seth Skorkowski.
Oh, it's the voting time. I was like, yeah, okay.
The voting, not the winners. So they want you to go vote. But Seth Skorkowski is up for his second Ennie, which is really cool. And if you don't know what the Ennies are, they're the indie game RPG awards, basically. And it's like, they have a lot of different categories: best art, best cover, best overall product, best blah, blah, blah. But they also have like best podcast and best, like online tool to help you play RPGs. So like Roll20 will submit like this innovation that we did. And there are judges, and it's a big, like, it's just like the Oscars, where it's a big inclusive system kind of a thing.
Is it at Gen Con where they announce it?
Yes.
Or is it just before Gen Con they announce it?
At Gen Con, they hand out the awards. And they have like a big dinner and stuff that I have never attended, but I hear it's really good. So Seth is like, go vote for me, or just vote, whatever. But I was like, you're awesome. Of course, you will get my vote. So the interesting thing about this one, though, is it's the first time a Wizards of the Coast product has been put in. And I guess anybody can nominate stuff, like you can throw things in, but like Wizards was never really like, we don't why they're like the Titans, but specifically it's the Radiant Citadel, that book. And so I think the authors of that book, which are all they're all people that were contracted to do it. I think they were like proud of what they did, and it's like this is something of my culture that I wanted to bring to the game.
Very cultures.
So, so it's not like they're just like, hey, the 2024 Player's Handbook, we want to put that. Yeah, it's not that, but it's up for story and game of the year and things like that. So I thought that was really cool, but it'll be a little odd if they win. Well, maybe it won't be odd if they win, but I could just see all the hatred for Wizards of the Coast and it kind of be like, ooh. But coincidentally enough, this is the year that Wizards of the Coast is coming back to Gen Con. They haven't done that. So in many years.
We've had many shows where we've talked about they don't even have to come, they'll never come, they're not gonna,
I think they are unburning bridges.
They need to reconnect.
And so
they need to reconnect with their community for sure. And
so,
they've had a lot of videos out with talking about Player Handbook 2024, which I know there's a big contingent that hates that naming. That's kind of the naming they've been going with and pushing. I still don't know where the community lies with this.
We won't know until it comes out, and then all of a sudden
5.5 or whatever.
We'll see. But right now I'm just like, Player's Handbook 2024. It's the easiest way to differentiate it, I think. So
there was a lot of videos right now about the Unearthed Arcana and even that stuff and all the changes they've been making. So they definitely upped their presence again on their webpage, YouTube page, if you're trying to track any of the stuff that's going on with the new D&D 5e stuff. So
Todd's making lots of videos, and they've gotten smarter about social media, and I wonder who's behind it, because they're like, hey, we're gonna have a playtest tomorrow, but I'm gonna release this video today talking about the playtest. And it's because usually it's like the playtest is out and then they'll release like 5 videos at once, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you space this out, kind of a thing. But now they are, and I think it's working better for them.
Get ahead of the hot take, right? Just like, here's where our mind was. It's nothing crazy or weird. We thought this thing and we wanted to try this thing. Now here it is. You guys see it tomorrow and let us know what you think. Versus everybody just goes and lambaste something or finds something, and then they're reacting to some uproar of some sort. Versus, hey, here were our thoughts and stuff. And I can listen to Jeremy Crawford talk about game design and the way they think about it, because you can tell those people are very sincere. I'm not talking about the marketers or the
there's bad money people there for sure, but
sincere about making something people will like, and crafting something and lovingly adjusting it. And you can just tell they're into it, and I can listen to them talk, and they're smart about it too. It's like, it's not just willy-nilly. They really put a lot of thought into it, and they're brilliant. Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, it's a great team. I love listening to them talk about why they would do a different change or what they're trying to accomplish, and maybe the change doesn't accomplish that, but that they're like, we're going to try this and just see if it will. So,
and they're really good, especially with 5th edition, of like, we want Dungeons and Dragons to be accessible and open to a lot of people, but it also should feel like Dungeons and Dragons. And I think that was the big thing with 4th edition, where it's like, okay, you made a game called D&D, but like, can we all agree that like D&D has a feel to it, And I always bring up Monty Cook, but like, Numenera has a feel, as well as it's just this game system. And can you imagine if they made Numenera 2, and it's like, all the things are named the same, but instead now you you battle on grid-based combat with sticks and what? Like, people would just be like, that doesn't feel like Numenera to me. And so with this 2024 update, I'm curious. I think I said this before, but like, Lex's 5B is giving me hope for the PHB 2024, because I'm like, how can this new thing be balanced with the older 2014? And I shouldn't say the word balanced, but compatible is a better thing. And I think it will be compatible strictly because Lex followed the same skeletal framework of the SRD to make 5B, and you could have like a full character and a 5B character, and they work pretty well together. So I'm like, and thinking back about the sidekick rules that they came out with, and then evolving a sidekick into a full character, if somebody's actually like, I actually want to like play, can we do this? Like you can do that. And so I'm like, I think it'll be a similar thing where you can have my 2014 Ranger, and he's not doing too good, but we can evolve and kind of shuffle it and make it into a better thing. So I don't know.
Or you could, the game will work.
The game will work
when somebody wants to play their 2014 version of a Ranger, and this person wants to play the 2024 version of the Wizard, and it's still going to work. It's not going to break the game. The DM's not going to have to do because so much work. The core concepts are there, things.
Like saving throws.
They made a good game.
They're not reworking the entire game, and I think it's in the same kind of idea where you can buy a lot of 3rd edition games and material and make it work in Pathfinder 1st edition, because Pathfinder 1st edition just kind of cleaned up the rules of that. And I feel like this is also doing a similar thing of cleaning up the rules. You definitely, like if you're building a 2014 cleric, you're going to have to follow those rules, but there are little things like, oh, part of playing a class is picking a race. Well, in this book, it says that I can apply my ability score any way I want, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go back to the 2014 and do this. But it says here that, and I think there'll be a lot of mashups and stuff, but it'll be a fun test, which I'm sure they're testing it. But it would be really interesting to let's run through a scenario with 2014 level 3 characters and run through that exact same scenario with level 3 2024 characters. So.
And I'm sure somebody will do like a study long down the line and talk just about how elegant the mechanics of 5e really were, because it allows so many people to build things that are compatible with it. You can be a third-party group right now. There's thousands of them out there that are 5e compatible, and it still works with the other 5e stuff that's out there. It might be balance, like you said, balance wouldn't necessarily be the word, because some of them try to make things a little tougher, and they say that right in the beginning. Even Matt Colville's book says, hey, we want our monsters to be a little bit more tougher and a little bit more dynamic, so just be aware of that when you're running this. But the rules are still going to work in a 5e game. And so the core mechanic, they really should have won, or should win at some point, not Ennies, but like an award that they created a foundational, functional, mechanically sound game that we're able just to put so many different genres on top of, and so many different things.
Well, I think also based on, I don't want to award all of the awards and accolades because they were built on the foundation of these giants, like the original Dungeons and Dragons and many decades of playing it and revising the play and things like that. So I understand why people thought 3rd edition was going to be the be all end all. And so, although I will say
it did mechanically break down. That was the thing. It starts to mechanically break down at a certain point, and then 4 came out, and people were like, this is like a very tight mechanical game, but it's almost computer game, or it was almost like too much one way, right? So then it didn't win a lot of awards or win a lot of hearts in the community. And so it's just like in 1st edition, it was cool, but that mechanic broke down pretty quickly too. Like you couldn't get to 7th or 8th level in original, I thought.
Well, so do you think that
run off the rails?
Do you think 5th edition will break down mechanically? Because this idea of like feats at every other level and all this other stuff, I was like, man, it's going to get bloated. I don't know. And
I finally have experience of playing a high level character in a long running campaign.
Yeah.
We're levels, 16 or 17 at this point, and the game is not broken. The DM is not like, that's it. I mean, you guys have gotten so many abilities, you've gotten so much stuff, the game just can't run anymore. And you could get to that place in some of the other versions of things are just broken and it's not working quite right. Or it was broken enough that the DM had to spend a lot more time fixing those things to make it still work, right? So you as a player may say, well, I played games back then and it didn't feel broken to me, Lucian, but that's probably because your dungeon master is really good at fixing things in the background to still make it all really
well, maybe
good.
your dungeon master. I don't think 5e
really needs that as much.
Maybe Danimal's really good at fixing things in the background.
My Down Under dungeon master is probably one of the best.
For sure.
So
yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. I like Sly Flourish's approach where it's not like Wizards doesn't own 5e. They own the Dungeons and Dragons brand, but like anybody can use these rules and make a 5e clone now. And I think we're going to see a lot of like things like Pangea, where I'm like so excited about it because, or Dungeon Crawl Classics, I really loved the Dying Earth set. And it was like, here's a complete thing, go play Dying Earth. And that's kind of what I want now, where it's like, I have my core player's handbook, and then Pangea adds a couple of cool flavor things for it, and I can go off and have a fun Pangea world. But what I don't want is to include 70,000 books. And I think D&D Beyond is going to be that, where I go to D&D Beyond and I'm presented with all these options,
the list of books,
and I'm like, as the DM, I'm going to be like, can we just not use D&D Beyond, because I don't want you to have silvery barbs. You're not allowed to take it. And they're like, well, but it's in my list. I don't care. We're not playing a Strixhaven game. I don't want you to have that. You know, I don't like this. I don't like this. And instead that's kind of the direction I was going with my, where there's more fun with restrictions than there are with everything is available. And my Eberron game was going to be like, here are the 3 books that you can pull from to make a character. I like this. Or my Drow game, you know, everybody's a Drow. You're underground. Here are the 3 books that I want to do. And then I also want to include this new mechanic of like houses and things like that. For me personally, that's what's going to reinvigorate me for D&D, not a giant book and like some giant character options. But I also am not running a giant campaign right now. So
yeah, I feel like that's the improv actor Jordan coming out in you.
Or like, I don't know,
restrictions, because I can work with them.
Yeah. I think actually, just in general, I think you are most creative when you are given a problem. And sometimes the problem is make a character using only these 2 books. And it's like, okay, but
make an interesting character with these limitations, and then your brain goes, "How am I going to do that? This is going to be great."
Not a gamify like I know Savage Worlds has this problem where it's like, well, I'm going to take nearsightedness so I get more points to spend over here in this. I'm like, I'm not talking about all of that. I'm talking about how do I make an interesting character, and then you get players like my friend who will be like, okay, I have my character, but I need this 1 feat from this book to make it work. But like when they show you, you're like, you do need that 1 feat to make it work. This is going to be awesome. And you give it, you know, like, hey, you can have that. That's kind of how
I am a duck with a cape and 2 swords. I need this book to get this character to work.
I need it.
And just to go back to a quick point, yes, I'm praising Dungeons & Dragons 5e, the version of that, but it's not to say that there's not all kinds of great games that have also done a really good job. The Monty Cook games, I love Numenera to death. I'm really infatuated right now with Pathfinder 2 and its rules. I'm hoping the new Starfinder revised edition is going to capture me too. I've read all kinds of other games, role-playing games. I've got them all on my shelves. They're all fantastic too. We are living in the golden age of people making really good rules that work, and then also wrapping them in interesting worlds that you want to play in, or you want to bring your table and your friends and your family and your players to, because you're so excited just from reading it. You want them to join you there and like, let me bring you to this jungle, and it's and this dinosaur walks by, or whatever it is, because there's just so many things to choose from. I mean, you posted something about Delta Green. I'm like, yes, I love that too. I was into that whole thing, and I was just like, it's perfect X-Files game. And yes, I could play an X-Files long-running campaign with Scully and I just Mulder, and I'd love it.
It's funny. For some reason, Delta Green, I think when you told me about it, or maybe the cover has like, I thought it was like an army thing. Not that you're in the army.
It's a Vietnam jungle. It's got a chopper, but then there's Cthulhu-like tentacles.
And I think it was like the Vietnam jungle. I'm like, well, are you like military? I don't know. This is not my thing. But then somebody explained that you're the Men in Black. You're Mulder and Scully, and you're humans, but you have supernatural things to take care of. And it uses the Call of Cthulhu dice set, which I just finished playing Call of Cthulhu, and I'm like, okay, this is a cool system as well. Does story-driven stuff very, very well. And that's another, I just found a couple, I don't remember the name of the game, but there was another game I was looking at on itch the other day, and it sounded like the world sounded really cool and all this other stuff. And I started reading the dice mechanics, and I'm like, no, not for me. But we're getting to this point where I'm like, I could take the world I want, and the system I think will make it work best, and I can play it, so.
Modular D6 will make this work great.
Oh, modular D6.
Yeah, the one game I played in Delta Green, and it captured me, dude. I played that one session. I was like, I wish I could find a group that would play. But I got to play a U.S. Marshal, and the other player was an FBI agent. And then the other player, I think, was more of a park ranger that was in the area. And the story revolved around the park ranger had noticed something going on. They were Delta Green operatives, so we can get called in if our expertise is needed at a certain thing. Something weird's going on. They decide which agent should go over there, and the FBI guy shows up. My U.S. Marshal shows up. We have specific skills that can help this ranger, and we're trying to figure out what's going on in this area that he works, and the whole story unfolds from that. And I was just like, it was one of my favorite one-shot, spent about 3 to 4 hours playing, unraveled. I felt like we could have filmed it after we were done as a pilot.
Isn't
and somebody
that
would have taken it. It was just so good. Yeah. So, and it reminded me a little bit of our Monster Heart game that we had played where
Monster of the Week
with our UPS guy. Yeah. The Monster of the Week one. Because that was the same one where I thought after we were done with that and we played, several sessions of it, I thought I could see this as a sitcom with these characters, because it was so funny and it was so engaging and it was so fun to go through it. It just made, those experiences are the ones you want. Those are the ones you're trying to share with everybody. So,
yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
It's love games. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching this fine day. I'm probably in the chat saying hello and all that stuff as I'm going to premiere this tomorrow. But boy, our busy schedules, it just didn't work out to do a live show, but I'm glad we got one.
I am good for another couple, and then there's a weekend in August I'll be out. So
yeah, I'm gone August as well, because I'm going to go to Gen Con. Are you going to Gen Con?
Lucian is like plan A, but there could be a plan B, and then he's waffling back to plan A. So there's like all kinds of stuff in the mix. I just don't know officially what's happening yet.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'll be there. So say hi to me. I have pins this year. I bought a whole bunch of cool pins I'm going to give out to people. Thank you guys so much. This was fun. I miss talking to you, Lucian. We don't do enough.
It is weird to be 2 weeks off or something and not have a chance.
2 or 3. That was a while. Our last show was 6/24, so yeah, it's been 3 weeks. Okay. We'll see you guys later, and thank you for watching. And check us out next week for DCC Day and another fabulous episode of the Saturday Morning RPG Show. Bye.